served our country. And thank you to everybody that put together that fantastic ceremony on Monday. It was very, very special, and I'll share more about it later. We're going to go with a call to order and roll call.
Mayor Brook,
Here.
Commissioner Sarah, Commissioner Vignola,
Present.
Commissioner Simmons, absent.
I believe Matt has him on the phone,
He does.
or he's about to
Here.
get him on the phone.
Thank you.
There he is.
Vice Mayor Carter,
Present.
City Manager Goodrum.
Here.
City Attorney Hearn.
Here.
Great. If everybody would please rise. And whatever you'd like to share a moment of silence in your heart with, please do. Thank you very much. We are going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Connor Allen, a fifth grader at Westchester Elementary. Hi, Connor. Great, come on up to the podium. And we're ready when you are.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful, Connor. Good job. Got a shirt for you. And if I was really on my mark, I'd have a pin for you. Come back. So nice to meet you. I'm Mayor Brooks, and here's your shirt. And you want to turn around for a picture for us? Good. And Connor, if you would shake everybody's hand, too. You can do it right in front. And our first recognition, Sean's a little bit shy, so I heard that I'm sharing with everybody that we're having the City Commission recognize the certificate of completion of the 2019 Institute of Elected Municipal Officials for Commissioner Sarah. Congratulations. So, Sean, are you too shy to get a picture? No.
Are we all going, or?
No, just Sean and I. Great. All right, so here's the official certificate of completion presented to you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Oh, wonderful.
And you don't have to shake everybody's hands, you're good. But you can.
It's
All right, and the next recognition is for a good friend of mine. His name is Alex Duran. So Alex, if you'll come on up, and I'm going to share some words about you. Come on up, let's give him a round of applause. So I want to thank my colleagues on the dais for allowing me to recognize Alex for his achievements. He's a Marine veteran. He strives to simultaneously help fellow veterans and empower the youth of our nation. He's the creator of a great program called the Bully Magnet, which I'd love for you to share with everybody when I'm complete with recognizing you. And he's named one of the top youth motivational speakers on the topic of bullying. He's a motivational speaker on youth motivation and fitness in schools as well across the country. He's been featured in different publications, news channels, and his work has been recognized through many awards over the years. He has published 7 books. Wow. 7 books. And he's created an online certification program called Youth Fit Pro, where teachers, coaches, and veterans can be a force for good by empowering the youth of today and tomorrow. And he also started a nonprofit organization called FitWise for Kids, where he trains young people of all ages and of all abilities. So if you'd please give Alex Duran a nice round of applause. So I'll read a portion of this special recognition from our commission. The City of Coral Springs applauds your efforts in helping fellow veterans and our youth to become empowered and strong, both physically and mentally. Your message to students and teachers about standing up to bullying is encouraging, and you have our full support. We wish you continued success with your great work toward ending the bullying cycle, and we thank you for setting a great example for our youth and being a great member of our Coral Springs community. Thank you, Alex. We'll get a picture, and then you can share a few words. And Alex, if you share a little bit about what you're doing with our youth.
Well, certainly. Around the school and the nation, I'm traveling around, and I see different children that need help. And like myself, I needed help. I didn't have that help, and when I was younger, I was bullied myself. And I believe being a force for good is something that everyone should be. And you never know the true impact of what you leave in the world. It always is something that you never imagine. I have children that are doing some great things in the future. You know, so they're becoming lawyers, they're going to college, they're doing great things in the community, becoming police officers, great stewards of the community itself. I definitely appreciate the city commission and the mayor today for recognizing me. I never got awards when I was a kid. So it was a big deal when I was a kid to get an award, but I never got them. And I realized that you keep working and keep working, never give up, you keep going forward, and you'll get recognized. Somebody will see your worth. I believed in my own worth. I believed in where my daughter is going to be somebody, my friend's daughter is going to be somebody. Everybody, I'm looking out for the little man, and that's what I'm here for. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Oh, walk on? Oh, great. Sure. Oh, great. Okay. Vice Mayor, will you help me with this one? We have a walk-on recognition. We have some youth that have been part of our Coral Springs Commission Connection. So if you'd like to read the first one and bring up Alfie
Alfie Loscom.
from Somerset Academy.
Thank you for joining Commission Connection.
Our next recognition, and what we're saying in the certificates are as follows. We appreciate your interest in local government, and thank you for participating in the City of Coral Springs Commission Connection. So our next recognition is to Alexandra Hernandez from Coral Glades High School. Congratulations. How was it?
It was good.
Good. Wonderful.
Sure. Shane Vignola from Coral Springs Charter.
All right.
My cousin.
And our last special recognition is to Jada Washington from Sawgrass Springs Middle School. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
There you go.
sick. I don't want to get anyone sick, so I apologize.
Next on our agenda is our public comment. Are there any speakers?
Actually, Mayor, I have 4 signed speakers right now. The first is Diana Tynan Liu, L-I-U, followed by, come on up, followed by Andy Caston and Randall Cutter.
And I always try to remember to give this preface. You may share with us here on the commission something, maybe even a question, and hopefully we can answer it. Sometimes we can't, and we certainly don't want to go back and forth with any kind of dissension. Excuse me. And a lot of times we reserve our comments for the latter portion of the meeting during commissioner communications. So don't feel affronted if we don't respond to a criticism or a question that we may not have the answer to readily.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you
Welcome.
for hearing me out. I wanted to draw some attention because we've been having problems in our neighborhood.
Diana, would you please repeat your name and your address?
Oh, sure. My name is Diana Tynan Liu. My address is 8811 Northwest 28th Drive, Condo 2,
Thank you.
Coral Springs, Florida, of course, 33065.
Okay, thank you.
Quite welcome, thank you. Well, anyway, my issue was about people not stopping at the stop signs or even at the bus stop. The bus now is picking up the kids on Forest Hills Boulevard because on Northwest 28th Drive, every time the bus stops to pick up the kids and he has the flag, it comes out, says stop, nobody's stopping. They're going around the bus. And when they get to the bus, the stop sign, they don't even stop there. They just continue to, go, regardless if it's a left turn. If they see it available, opening, they just run it. And they're not stopping. So I've been trying to record them on my phone, but I didn't want to get in trouble for that too because, I don't know what to do. But I'm afraid because Halloween was a real scary moment. They knew these kids were out there on Halloween, and one car was coming into 28th Drive off of Forest Boulevard in a high speed, going into the landings, the Islands Club, and one was coming out, and it wasn't very much room because we don't have sidewalks there. So it's like, these kids were in the street, and they were all trying to flee. And I mean, it was so close. It would have been about 7 kids if they would have contacted them. I don't know, they had a guardian angel that night.
Oh, wow.
We had a couple people viewing what was going on, and it was with the association where I live at the Forest Villas. He was out there with some of our tenants, and they were giving kids Halloween candy, and we witnessed that. And then we thought, we need a speed bump or something that it might slow down the traffic, and we need officers to kind of go out there because even on Forest Hills Boulevard, we're getting more traffic for some reason, and they're speeding. Sometimes you hear it at 2 in the morning.
Well, we appreciate you letting us know. In the future, I would suggest if you have a concern like that to call the non-emergency police number.
We have, and they
Have,
had put
okay.
out motorcycles at the 28th Street, but not where we're at. And sometimes we think they need to sit in the apartment complex across from us called the Palms and see if they can view some of them because, they're not hidden too well over where we're at. People see them, they slow down. Suddenly they're angels. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what to do but to keep trying to film them. And I've all morning, just morning alone, watching them run the stop sign. They just don't stop.
I see our city manager taking some notes, so we're hearing you and we're listening to you, and
Well, thank you, Scott.
Thank you for
Brooks.
being
I
here.
appreciate it, Mayor. That was pretty much it.
Okay.
Just wanted to put my issues out there, you know.
We're happy to have you. You bet.
Andy Caston?
I welcome Andy.
Good evening. Andy Caston, 10532 Northwest 56th Drive, Coral Springs. Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, my comments tonight are related to Waste Pro. Of late, I've had some issues. I've actually communicated with Vice Mayor Carter on this, but I wanted to bring it up to the rest of the commission because I think if it's happening to us, it's probably happening elsewhere. On October 14th, this was probably the weekend after Dorian, I believe it was, or right thereafter. So I knew that recycling was not going to get picked up the weekend after Dorian. However, the subsequent weekend, recycling was not picked up. I called the 800 number, or the whatever the number was. I left a message because after hours, there's no way to contact anybody. And I think I even registered something through the city website, but no one ever contacted me back. Then again, on November 21st, same thing again. No garbage pickup this time. And again, I texted Vice Mayor Carter, and she was very kind enough to reach out to them and find out what was going on. The thing is that they said they came back and picked up. They may have, but I don't think they did, and that is really where my comments lie. So there were 3 pickups that were missed over a 3-week period with no resolution in my mind as to how to resolve that. When you go to their website, it's not easy to manipulate the website to find out information. In fact, there really isn't any information, right? They're there for several different cities. But when you do drill it down to Coral Springs, you still can't find any information that would be current about maybe why they missed the pickup, or even announcing to citizens that we won't be picking up the garbage or the recycling on a set date. The only buttons are report a problem, request service, or leave a compliment, and I don't think they're getting too many comments for leaving a compliment. So what I would ask the commission is, because we really don't have any recourse, right? There's no way to recover the money from a citizen standpoint. I think we pay about $291 for the annual garbage pickup, which is a pretty good deal in my mind, but information is king. And in today's world where you have texting and email and a website, why they can't give us better information is just beyond me. Because we don't know. Do we leave the garbage out? Do they come the next day? Or should we put it up? And, and so forth. So I know if this happened to us, there's hundreds of other people that this has happened to. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I would just, ask if you could look into it and see if they could provide a better way to get information to we the people. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Our next speaker, Deborah.
Randall Cutter?
Very familiar.
Randall Cutter, 12655 Northwest 17th Place. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, esteemed city staff. It's good to be with you tonight. By the way, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say the Customer Involved Government Committee, as usual, was informative, invigorating, and proactive. I felt like we were ready to go out and hit the pavement on behalf of the city.
Awesome.
I am here, I'm the pastor of New Dawn Community Church, and I am here this evening as the co-chair of the Clergy Coalition. We are having our annual pre-Thanksgiving Unity Service on November 26th at 7 p.m. I know you've all been noticed with that, but I wanted to make the announcement for those who watch the commission meetings in their spare moments. We have been doing this pre-Thanksgiving Unity Service on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving for over 3 decades. It is a great event, music-driven. The houses of faith come together from a broad variety of faith backgrounds, and it's a good event where we have a chance to be able then afterwards to have some really good snacks, cookies, and some fellowship, getting to know one another. This year, it is at First Church, Coral Springs, 7 p.m. on the 26th. And that is at 8650 West Sample Road. If you wanted more information, you can go to clergycoalition.net. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it. Any other signed up speakers?
There are no other signed speakers, Mayor?
Anyone else from the public? Nancy?
Good evening, Commission and City staff. I'm here today to talk about one of the line items on the agenda, the body cams. So I'm asking you all to award the funds to get the body cams approved. I truly believe that body cams worn is a great tool for our police officers and can improve effectiveness and safety. The use of body cams, the advantage of those will keep our officers safe, improve our community relations and accountability, and provide evidence for trials. So please award the dollar amount that is on the agenda this evening to better help with policing in our communities. Thank you.
Would anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. We're on to public hearings.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 219-125. We're going to ask for a motion to table, but I'll read the title first. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, amended chapters 3 and 5 of the Code of the City of Coral Springs to create, adjust, move, and remove certain administrative and user fees related to community development in the building division, provided for conflicts, provided for severability, provided for codification, provided for an effective date. I'm going to request that you table this. This will not be coming back. We'll be bringing a separate resolution that is more inclusive of all departments.
Understood. Is there a motion? Moved by Vice Mayor.
Table, right?
Moved to table,
Yeah,
correct.
second.
And second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries unanimously. Next item is number 4, conditional use approval, Riverside Square, Publix.
Yeah, Mayor, this is a request to hold quasi-judicial hearing, a public hearing to approve petition of GFI Riverside LLC for conditional use approval in accordance with sections 250568, conditional uses of the Land Development Code for a large-scale retail establishment occupying a footprint greater than 40,000 square feet for redevelopment of Publix Riverside Square within the Community Business B2 zoning district located at 8160 Wiles Road, legally described as portions of Tract 2-A and 3 Royal Land, second edition, and authorize the city attorney's office to draft an order approving CA 19-0005 and adopt said order. Request to hold a public hearing. We have the quasi-judicial has been raised. I do know there's another citizen that will speak in addition to the petitioner, though, so we'll give him his time as well. Approve, authorize, and adopt, and Community Development give a presentation.
Great. Hi,
Mayor,
Julie.
Commissioners, Julie Kurlak with Community Development. As Mr. Hearn mentioned, the item before you this evening is a conditional use request for the Riverside Square Plaza for the Publix that's in there now. The property is Zone B2. It's a little under 14 acres. It's at the southwest corner of Wiles and Riverside. It's just a little north. It backs up actually to the Carriage Point Estates homes that are there. The property was actually built under Broward County regulations before it was annexed in 1991. Since then, they've done various improvements over the years. Most recently, within the last probably about 5 years, they did facade improvements to the entire building. The plaza right now, total, is about 103,000 square feet, and the Publix itself is a little under 40,000. So with the demolition and rebuild, they're actually going to be eating up a couple of the retail bays that are there, which is putting them over the 40,000 square feet, which is a threshold for conditional use for a use like this. So that's why we're here today, even though it's an existing Publix. With that growth, it's requiring the conditional use. At the front, included in your backup, I have the elevations. They're going to be redoing the facade in front of Publix itself, adding an arcade area for shade while people are walking, ADA compliant walkways and things like that to help people with their carts coming in and out. They're also going to be doing some parking lot improvements, redoing some of the landscape islands, replacing trees, things like that in the front. Moving to the rear of the property, because this is, of course, what we heard a lot from the residents that did come to Planning and Zoning Board. Understandably, you back up to a commercial property, you'd have concerns about what's going on back there. The back of the building right now, the main portion of Publix, it sits at about 49 feet back from the property, and that's going to hold strong. They're going to hold that setback. The portion that's getting a little bit closer will be the new truck well and loading area that you can see here. That's the longer line on the right there. Before I talk about that, to the left we have a new compactor that's going to be going in, as well as a new generator. The generator will be behind about 11-foot wall, and the compactor's wall will be about 10 feet. So that's really going to help with the noise that's going to be going on back there. By incorporating the new loading zone, the truck well itself will be recessed, as well as it'll be long enough, that wall is actually about 88 feet long. It's going to be long enough so that the whole truck will be able to go behind that wall when they're loading and unloading. So thankfully, with that, they're going to be able to get rid of the scissor lifts that are existing in the back of the property, which is creating a lot of noise for the residents right now. So while we understand there's going to be some growing pains, especially during construction, between the traffic study and the noise study that they incorporated and working with our consultants and looking at the site plan, we really hope in the long run these are going to be good improvements for the residents that are nearby. Those improvements, the noise walls that I just mentioned, are in addition to actually 2 walls that are along the rear of the property. One belongs to the homeowner association, the other belongs to the commercial building, the Riverside Square Plaza. So they have the 2 walls at the back and then a 10-foot landscape buffer that the property owner is actually going to be improving as part of this overall project. There's a little bit of construction going on in the back right now if you were to drive by, and that's because they're actually making improvements to the wall that's there now. It's deteriorated over time. It's been there, several years, and it really needed some upkeep. So with that, they've pulled building permits, and they're working on the wall now. We did notify 125 owners within the 400-foot radius. We did have, as I mentioned, a few people come out at Planning and Zoning Board. And some of the concerns, which I included in my backup, included the scissor lifts, as I mentioned. Waste Pro was out there servicing the dumpsters a little too early. So immediately after Planning and Zoning, staff reached out to Waste Pro, and we think that's been alleviated. In addition to, we let the property owner know that there was some activity going on behind some of the other retail spaces there that they've taken care of too with their tenants, so, as well as the wall height. And so we did talk about that with the residents as well. As I mentioned, they did submit a noise and traffic study as part of their submittal, as required by the Land Development Code. The traffic study identified that the increase would be negligible due to the small amount of addition to the Publix from what's going on there now. It's really not going to be a big change as far as that goes. And the noise study, our consultant recommended a couple different improvements to the site, some of which I've already mentioned, and some of which we've included as our conditions this evening. As you know, when you're considering conditional use, there's criteria. Staff does believe this project meets the criteria, including that, as I mentioned, we're hoping that those improvements, the sound walls, the landscaping, will help that it doesn't negatively impact the residential areas, as well as it's satisfying and or well above buffering requirements throughout the site. So with that, staff is recommending approval of CA 19-0005 with conditions A through G, many of which are standard conditions, such as that the conditional use runs with the land and the project be substantially developed according to the site plan that you have in your backup, that they enter into a landscape maintenance agreement for the new landscaping, that no overnight storage of shopping carts be in the parking lots, that excuse me, any additional trees that are going to be planted be taller to be consistent with the trees that are already out there, that the wall signage be designer sign, and that additional noise features be included, excuse me, such as that deliveries happen during daytime hours, no truck shall idle in the back, and that there'll be signage to that effect, that the trash compactor and the generator operate during daytime hours, and that the rooftop equipment and the sound walls that I mentioned be at least 2 feet taller than the equipment that are going to be back there, and that you authorize the attorney's office to draft an order. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm here for any questions. The petitioner is here as well, if you have anything.
Any questions of staff? Joshua?
No questions for me.
Okay, very good. This is a public hearing. Would anyone from the public wish to be heard? All right, seeing none. You need to please come up to the mic. Let us know your name and your address.
Robert
Welcome, Robert.
Fogel, 10991 Northwest 12th Drive, Coral Springs. I come from the supermarket industry, and the satellite stores with the trees, they should be royal palms so that they don't interfere with the signage. And having that experience through managing 5 states with supermarkets, that was a very big problem with satellite stores, and the main store itself being blocked that you can't see the signage. So going with Florida tradition with Royal Palms, I'm just suggesting that you go up high with those and not deciduous trees.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to be heard? Somebody had signed up previously on this item? No? Okay, the public hearing on this item is closed. Entertain a motion. Moved by Commissioner Vignola,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Carter. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, it carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Next is our consent agenda. I know I have one pull. Let me remind myself which one it was. Any other pulls? I'm pulling number 6. May I entertain a motion to move the balance?
So moved.
Moved? Second. And seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the consent items other than number 6, please say aye.
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 All right, carries unanimously. Next is number 6. I'll be frank about the reason that I pulled this. I have a goal, and we've talked about doing something along these lines in the future of a Buy Coral Springs campaign where we're focused more on local and potentially giving some more weight to local vendors. So the reason for my pulling this and not wanting to move forward with at least one portion of this request to renew is that there will be an automatic renewal after X amount of time, I forget which one, and I'm hoping that in the future we won't have automatic renewals, that by then we're really taking a closer look at what we've done to promote utilizing businesses in Coral Springs. And if you look at the 4 awardees of this contract, all of them are not from Coral Springs. They're from other areas in Florida. I'm not to say they're not worthy of the contract, but the portion of the contract that I won't be agreeing to will be that portion for the renewal to be automatic.
I just had
Commissioner
a
Vignola?
question.
Do you know of any mulch companies from Coral Springs?
Yeah.
I don't know of any offhand. I don't know if we received any bids. Not to say that there couldn't be,
There's one in Parkland,
right?
but
Not to say that there couldn't be.
Company,
But were there any bidders from Coral Springs, and do we know the answer to that question? Are there any mulch companies based in Coral Springs? And that is certainly an excellent question.
This is a cooperative contract. This was actually bid out by the city of Pompano. This is our second year on this contract. We did not bid this out. The city of Coral Springs did not bid it out. It was part of the Southeast Florida Cooperative Group. They're the ones that led the bidding process, getting all of the estimated quantities of these various cities for economy of scale. So this is Dade, Broward, or Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County cities, part of the Southeast Cooperative Group. So it wasn't bid by us. It was put out competitively. It was bid out, and it was being awarded to 4 groups. Well, this is the second renewal term for this, but it wasn't done by us.
as in cooperative, meaning cost savings.
yeah, this is
Yes, because of the economy of
Bulk
scale.
buying.
Because, again, 3 counties got together, united, formed this cooperative group so that we can actually bid out for larger scale, larger quantities in order to bring down and reduce our pricing for all of us, for all the various
Right.
cities.
So about what would you estimate the savings to be to do this on a cooperative basis?
Have to run the numbers and get back to you specifically on.
I understand.
I understand your point. I just, with mulch, I don't think we have a mulch company in Coral Springs. I know there's one in Parkland.
Well, if I could, staff is recommending approval. We do not have policy direction from the commission to do an alternative procurement process. I would recommend that the commission take logical steps moving forward on a procurement practice that accomplishes what you want to do, rather than just not vote for items that our current policy directs us to do. Thank you.
Any further discussion or questions?
Yeah, I have something I would like to say. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been talking with staff, I think, since my first agenda briefing a year ago about a local procurement code. And I know that we had some issues with the former, well, not issues, but the former purchasing manager, had to leave due to, his medical condition. And then we had to go through a long, painstaking process of getting another purchasing manager. And as I understand it, and I continue to talk about this, and staff knows that I want us on, want us to develop a local procurement process and to give, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, a little bit more weight to local companies. And so I have faith that staff is continuing to work on that. I don't think that is something that disappeared or is not being worked on. So with that being said, I don't think we need to hold up this item from, mulching, around the city and things like that. We often talk about the look of the city and stuff like that, and something that's small as mulch is something that we shouldn't, hold up on. So I would like to think that staff is still working on our wishes as far as, me asking about, pushing for the local procurement code, which I've been doing for a year now. But I understand that things don't happen, with the snap of a finger. But I do have faith that the staff is working on this. So I would say that we shouldn't hold up items when these conversations have been had and, are continuing to be had. And I don't, I think we should give them the opportunity to get that done. So.
Well, and if I could, we just went through the strategic planning process. This was an item that was discussed in length, and there was not majority support to move forward on this.
Yes,
And
there you
so
go.
I would, encourage the commission prior to approving that work plan. If it becomes a priority, then we need to include it in our work plan, but has not been a priority. It's obviously been a priority to Commissioner Simmons. We've talked about this at length, but it has not been a priority of the overall commission. It's not something on our current work plan.
Commissioner Simmons, did you want to say something else?
No, City Manager Goodrum is completely correct. I may have, I said I will continue to talk about it. I may have misspoken by saying it was being worked on in progress, but he's right. I did remember that it was something that I brought up, but it did not didn't cut the mustard. So hopefully I can continue to advocate for that, and maybe I'll get a part of the directive at some point.
And just a point of clarification, we are looking at it working from a staff level of are there things that make sense that we would recommend to the commission, but as far as commission policy, it wasn't approved. But we are working on the concept of what makes sense for what we would recommend to the commission. So Commissioner Simmons is correct in that regard.
So from my vantage point, I agree with you completely, Mike. It's not a priority of this commission at this time. I'm hopeful that this commission a year from now will be a priority. And if it's a priority at that time and there's an automatic renewal of a contract without looking at, that kind of procurement special aspect, that would be problematic for me. So, Mike, are you saying that with this automatic renewal, if we were to change the policy and it was made clear this time next year that there wouldn't be an automatic renewal as part of this contract?
Well,
I haven't said anything of that matter.
I'm asking if that's what your understanding
Just to
is.
clarify what it is, it's not an automatic renewal. It's the ability of the purchasing agent to renew it. So it's
Our
not.
purchasing agent.
Yeah, our purchasing, but it's not an automatic renewal. The purchasing agent, especially if we get different direction, could then, of course, decide.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's not automatic, but it's taking it to the purchasing agent to be able to do it if the contract's been working normally, but if there's different direction.
But without looking at a policy that might be in place a year from now.
Right.
That the commission is looking to buy Coral Springs.
Correct.
Yeah,
However.
so that's why I'm voting no, but I'm
Right.
voting no respectfully.
Right, and however,
Yeah.
if the manager gets that direction, he may let the purchasing agency know not to renew it, and that's also
Gotcha.
our option, so.
Understood.
Just to be clear, Mr. Hearn, if the commission decides to change the policy on this, the way these contracts are structured, we have the option to not renew the contract.
Correct.
This is not a fixed, long-term, so.
There's the clarity.
The commission has that flexibility at that time.
Now you've answered my question, and I wouldn't vote no. But that's what I'm looking for. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry, there was a motion. We wouldn't have had all the
No, we-
discussion without a motion, I don't think.
No.
But maybe we did.
I don't think so, but
Okay.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
move to
All right,
approve it.
moved and, any
I just have-
further discussion?
I have a question. We're moving to approve it the way it is.
The way it is, correct.
Got my vote.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, carries 5-0. Thank you very much for the discussion, everybody. Next is policy formation and direction, item number 10, body cameras and tasers.
Yes, good evening.
Evening, Clyde.
Deputy Chief Brad McKeon has been the point man on this project. He put together a brief PowerPoint based on commonly asked questions about body cameras. So with that being said, I'll have him go ahead and give you the PowerPoint, and I'm here for much-needed moral support if he needs it.
Thanks, Chief. Good evening.
Good evening.
Chris Delp from Axon is in the crowd, so if there's any questions I can answer for you guys, he'll be more than happy. Brad McKeon, Police Department. Is that better? Or I'll stand closer for you. How's that? Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Okay. So what we're proposing is the contract is for 150 body cameras.
The light was just on, 7 o'clock.
Can you mute that, please?
You weren't muted for the moment, Joshua.
We can hear you, Commissioner Simmons.
This will outfit almost all the officers that are in our field operations, basically anybody who's in contact with the public over normal traffic stops, investigative stops, domestic type calls. So all the officers that come into contact with the public on a regular basis. We also have additional cameras that will be available to any of the detectives that if they're working a special detail or they're covering, let's say, for a patrol shift, they'll have them available to them. We just won't be spending the money on a reoccurring basis to give them the cameras because they won't use it but from time to time. In the contract, for the body cameras, we are looking to replace them at year 3 and year 5 with the newest technology that's out there. So if the vendor comes out with a new, better version, we get that as part of the contract. It's not an additional cost, again, at year 3 and year 5. And one of the options that we went with in this is that all of the associated hardware, software, and warranty for all of the devices is included with the purchase. So we won't have to come back and find money to replace cameras if they should break or something should happen. Second part of it is the tasers. We're purchasing 235 tasers. This will outfit the entire police department. This is, again, the newest version of the tasers that they have. The current ones that we have, a large portion of, I believe about 185 of them, are actually going out of the life of service where they're no longer being warrantied. The software updates are no longer being provided. So we were going down this road to make a separate purchase when all of this came together as one project. Again, this contract also covers year 3 and year 5 replacement if they come out with a new version. Again, we'll get that new one. We won't have to rebudget for that or find money for that. So a little history of the body camera program. We've been at this now for almost 6 years to date. We started this back in November of 2013. It actually started as a DUI type camera because the way the process worked, we were having officers duplicate efforts on video. So we thought, well, if we can have a video out there in the field, we can actually cut down on the time the officer is spending on a DUI arrest and get them back out there into service more quickly. Around that same time, there was a number of incidents throughout the country that led to a big discussion about body cameras being used by law enforcement. We ended up expanding our project outside of just the DUI investigations and actually taking it into a work group that we created of both officers, supervisors, members of the union to develop a policy, a program, and testing and evaluation of body cameras. In August of 2016, we did that testing and evaluation for about 6 weeks. We deployed roughly 20 cameras, which officers shared. It was total about 40 officers deployed the cameras out there in the field. Ultimately, we did do an RFP. We did select a vendor, but we didn't move forward with the actual purchase and deployment of the body cameras at that time. A couple of the issues that came up, I just highlight up there, were the general use of the body cameras in Broward County. It wasn't very popular at the time. It was, I don't believe there may have been one other agency that was actually in the testing phase at the time that had them deployed, so it was relatively new. That was an issue with the state attorney because they weren't really in a position to take evidence or to process all the videos at that time. We actually worked with them hand in hand to develop that process. There were some privacy concerns that were raised. The laws at the time, privacy concerns both for civilian and the officers, the overall need for the department, and then the budget. Let's see here. So, as I was saying, now they're more common use. BSO, which covers 14 different municipalities, has the body cameras. As you can see, Fort Lauderdale, Hallandale, Miramar, Wilton Manors, Seminole, and Pembroke Pines all have cameras. Lauderhill and Sunrise do have cameras, but they have a different vendor than the one that we chose to go with. And the Broward County State Attorney, on multiple occasions, has encouraged us to get body cameras. It's something that they look for law enforcement now to have as a common tool. As I was mentioning, some of the issues before were the privacy concerns. When body cameras first came out, it was really two statutes that were old statutes that didn't really apply to body cameras that were governing what could be released. The first one was 934, which is essentially wiretapping or interception of communication. And then the second one was the Public Records Laws, Chapter 119. Again, this was a concern for civilians and law enforcement as far as what could be released, what the officers could record, where they could record. Again, it left it kind of vague. Fortunately, over the years, we've gotten some pretty good clarification on what we can and cannot do, and that falls under 943, 17, 18. A couple of the highlights there I put out was 934 no longer applies to body cameras being used by law enforcement, so there is no issue with an officer using the body camera in the course of their duties. And then the other ones are, if it's taken within a private residence or a healthcare, mental health facility or social services, or it's taken in a place that somebody would have a reasonable expectation of privacy, it is not releasable unless you are being represented by an attorney. They can get access to it, or if you request the video, you can get it, but you can only get the portion in which you're in the video. So if you go out of scene and you come back 10 minutes later, you can't get that 10 minutes that you were not there party for. And lastly, the budget. So what we're looking at is, with the purchase of the body cameras and the tasers, roughly $1.7 million over 5 years. The initial payment will come from a combination of forfeiture funds, which we approved $500,000 a little while back. We have approximately $80,000 budgeted for the replacement of tasers that we can put towards that. And then I believe the last commission meeting, we approved to get the grant for $300,000 for the body cameras, which leaves a balance of approximately $885,000 over 4 remaining years, which is roughly $221,000 a year we would have to budget for the cameras to be utilized. So with that, that's the presentation. We're asking for you to approve, and we're here to answer any questions you guys may have.
So, Chief, we don't already have the 221 budgeted?
No, the initial purchase was, the upfront payment was to get us through this budget year, and then we would have to budget the remaining amount in the future years,
Understood.
yes.
Okay. Great. Any other questions before a motion? All right, it's a request to waive the competitive procurement process and award. Is there a motion? All right,
Move to
forward.
approve?
Waive the competitive.
And waive the competitive process. So we've
Yes,
got a
move to waive the competitive process.
All right. Moved by Commissioner Simmons, second by Commissioner Sarah. Any further discussion? It's about time.
I would just,
Go ahead,
I
Joshua.
would just like to say, if I could, one, I apologize for talking earlier. My little one called me on the video on my other phone. Second, I just want to say that I asked a lot of questions during my agenda briefing, and I appreciate staff for answering all of my questions.
Great.
And,
Thank you.
and Deputy Chief Backer for answering my questions as well.
Thank you. Any further comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, it carries unanimously.
Opposed.
You're opposed? Oh, I
No, you haven't opposed, I'm
Okay.
sure.
Opposed, Commissioner Vignola. Okay, thank you for correcting me. Okay, next is 4-1. Next is number 11, waiver procurement regulations for construction of Peace and Love by R&R Studios.
Good evening. We have this evening a request to waive the same kind of competitive procedure you just waived in that last one. What has happened here is, where's this? Put it back on, Matt.
Matt, playing with you again.
Yeah, we have R&R Studios, that is the artist, that is one of the final artists that we're doing with the Power of Art Bloomberg grant. And this is a text-based installation made of wood, foam, and thousands of flowers, silk flowers. It's composed of 10 16-foot-high letters that spell out the word peace and love, and is made up of several panels that individually are put on a scaffolding. So they engage the community in the way of working with people, putting the actual silk flowers into the letters peace and love as they work through their process. This is an example of one that was done at Conchella last year called Besame Mucho. And it shows you, yeah, it's nice. So it's large. It's 120 feet long and 28 feet high. I wanted to make sure everybody understood that. The original reason why we're here is because when we did the bid that was required in accordance with the agreement that we did last August, the bids came back with 3 responses, and they were very, very high over what we thought they were going to be. So in order to save time and work with the lowest bidder quickly and trying to keep moving forward on the deadline that we're trying to do, which is the 2nd anniversary of the tragedy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas on February 14th, we need to just keep moving forward and working with this low bidder to be able to do that. So this social sculpture is something that's going to try to envision a positive future. And as you come in off the Sawgrass Expressway on Sample Road is where it's located. So just wanted to make sure that you understood that we did go out to bid like we were supposed to in the agreement. Now we're asking to just not have to rebid it and work with the low bidder. So we always wanted to work with the labor costs on this, because anything the city can do that can help bring down the cost, we'd like to be able to negotiate that in with the bidder and keep working with them to get it down to the price that we can do it at, because otherwise, we really may not be able to do it at this scale, or we may have to negotiate a lot of different things about it, but we'd like the chance to work with this gentleman. Actually, it's John Zacks. He's somebody that we've worked with a lot of other things with Public Works, and he knows us really well. It needs to be built to a Category 2 hurricane situation, and that wasn't originally envisioned when we went out to bid first. So we hope that you can recommend that for us. And the advisory committee on last Wednesday at their meeting also expressed that they request that we do this. And I've spoken with the Bloomberg representatives themselves, and they feel that we try to need to work within the budget that we have as much as possible. So that's kind of where we are with that.
Gotcha. Where on Sample would this be?
It's right at Sportsplex Drive and Sample, so it's not intended to be seen from the Sawgrass Expressway. There may be a glimpse as you go over that you can see it, but it's not intended to be seen necessarily. But it is 30 feet high, so depending on how it there.
Okay.
I just had one question. The February to May, I'm assuming that's the longevity of it, in, how South Florida sun destroys color and things like that, so that's...
Exactly, yes. They feel that it can make it to last from February to end of May, but if it doesn't look good, we can bring it down sooner if it starts to look not so great.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
For a second?
And just to clarify, move to approve, waive the procurement code and
Yes.
Yes, thank you. The last one I had there. Was going to bring that up. Thank you, John.
Yeah, and there's a second by Commissioner Vignola. Did you want to add something, Susan?
Yes, I did. And right up here, I just wanted to make sure that my intention was to actually have the
Ask
city
for all
manager authorized to execute the agreement, so we don't have to come back here. That is part of the whole thing here, that we're trying to save and not have to come back for additional approval. Just want to
Providing it meets
clarify
legal.
that.
providing it meets legal. That's the request.
Right.
Gotcha. So to follow staff recommendation that's up on the screen now, which includes number 2 and number 3, to authorize the city manager or designee to execute the contract.
Right, correct, thank you.
All right, so I
Thank you,
have
John.
nods by both the movement and the seconder. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? All right, none. Carries unanimously. Thank you, Susie. We are now on to Commissioner Communications. Anybody ready? Larry, you want to go?
I'll go. This Friday, November 15th, right over here at the lawn by City Hall from 6 to 10 is the Bites and Sips. There'll be live music, food trucks, adult beverages for sale. Bring lawn chairs and blankets. And speaking of bringing lawn chairs and blankets, the movie in the parks the next night, November 16th. That's Saturday. That'll be at 7:30. The weather's going to be really nice this weekend. It looks like it's going to be really, really beautiful day Saturday. So come out and watch Disney's live-action remake of Aladdin. Parking and admission are free. But again, bring your blankets, your lawn chair, something to sit down on. I want to apologize for not being out there on Veterans Day. Unfortunately, I had the flu. And so my kids are still dealing with it now. But I want to apologize for our veterans because I hate to miss that event. But it wouldn't have been good for anybody for me to be out there. I want to congratulate Commissioner Simmons. You're officially onto your second year as a member of the commission. It's been a pleasure working with you over the past year, even though you're not here right now. I guess that
I'm
means
there in spirit.
there you go. I guess that means I'm starting my 10th year, my last year on the commission, which is kind of crazy. I've been doing this quite a bit, and it's been a privilege serving the residents of Coral Springs. And if anyone would like to reach me about anything going on in the city, please call me on my cell phone at 954-632-7544.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. And we did miss you at the Veterans event. I'm glad you're doing better. Commissioner Seri, you want to go next?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to congratulate all of our students that got inducted at Forest Glen Middle with the Mentoring Tomorrow's Leaders. It's pretty cool to see our youth stepping up and getting developed and reaching out and making a difference. So congratulations to the entire staff and all the students that got inducted. Really enjoyed the Taste of Coral Springs last night. I wanted to applaud all those that volunteered to pull off a successful event year in and year out. It's a great evening, and great job to everyone involved that was part of the organization of last night. Veterans Day, thank you to all those that have served, are serving, and are working to put yourself in position to protect our freedoms in the future. I thought our event was very special. Special shout out to Ernie and the Veterans Coalition for a great event along with our city's Park and Recreation team. I don't know if the residents know, but the Military Officers Association of America on Saturday afternoon recognized our Veterans Coalition, and I know Gordy and Lou and a few others were there, but it's pretty cool to see that our city is blazing the trail when it comes to recognizing our veterans, and I got their due recognition on Saturday, and it was a privilege to be a part of that. Special shout out to our Coral Springs Government Academy. I thought the public safety presentation this past Thursday was phenomenal. To Alex, Bob, and George, you guys were great facilitators, and it was really neat to see 35 or so residents there. Last shout I wanted to give is to Mary Lou Ram at J.P. Taravella High School. I wanted to thank her for her efforts with the literacy campaign. I enjoyed reading to the class, If You Give a Moose a Muffin. Very interesting book. Really enjoyed the Brower Reads, and for all those that donated across the county, 40,000 students, not only in our schools but in our communities, have extra literacy materials. There was the concern about Waste Pro. All of our commissioners and city staff get concerns on Waste Pro, and there are also some positive things being said as well. But if you do have a concern with Waste Pro, our city staff is meeting with them or having a conversation with them every Monday. Reach out to your city commissioners, city staff. We need to know what your concerns are so that every Monday when we are having that conversation, we're including you in it. And Mayor, I don't know if you're going to speak to the Mayor's Cup, but maybe you can give an update on that. I don't want to steal your thunder, but you were at that event, but you just make sure everybody knows who won the game. And last but not least, if you ever, I had to take it, Mr. Simmons, Commissioner Simmons. So But for those of you that are reaching out, I'd be happy to talk to you. My number is 954-612-7114. Thank you.
Commissioner Simmons, I'm going to let you go next.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First things first, great job to Rick Engel and the Parks Department and the Veterans Coalition of Coral Springs on another phenomenal Veterans Day program. It's just always a good moment to wrap our arms around our veterans. As you know, we can always do more to help them, and hopefully we can continue to, just as a society, press upon our government to make sure we're continuing to provide adequate funding for veterans because, their duty is not over only when their mission is complete. We have to make sure that they went and sacrificed their time for us, that we go ahead and, sacrifice our energy to make sure they're taken care of later in life. I also want to say, give a shout out to Ms. Gonzalez at Coral Springs High School. Last weekend, she put on a charity staff versus student basketball game for a club. Her and some students helped found called Latinos in Action. The staff, we got out there and played some basketball. I will not say if I'm still hurting or not, but it was a good time. We have tremendous schools, and I know a lot of times we get focused on grades and things like that, but I think when we stop and take a look at the people that are working inside the schools, we'll find a lot of amazing stories. And so I hope that, we continue to look for those amazing stories throughout all of our wonderful schools. I mean, we have, so many that we continue to shine light on those educators and students that are providing a need and doing a great job. And as always, I miss you guys, and I will try to make this not be a habit. So if you all ever need me, you can find me on any social media outlet. And my city number is 954-871-1314. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love living in Coral Springs. I love the passion in the city staff. I love the passion in the residents who lead events and bring off wonderful, wonderful events. This is just a great place to be, that everybody is proactive and progressive. I'm excited about that. So when I got to Coral Springs in 1985, there were 63,000 people, and we are geared up to 130,000. We're almost there, a little over 128,000. And one of the people who made a huge impact on this city was one of the 50-plus builders at Coleridge Properties. And his name, and he's done a lot for this city, building homes, building buildings, is Aftab Cumber. And today is Aftab's birthday, so I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday and thank him for everything he did for the city of Coral Springs. I wanted to echo Randy's comments about the Unity service. It is an absolutely wonderful, beautiful service, and I encourage you to come to the First United Church on Sample Road on the 26th. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and hope that they enjoy their filled tummies and family time. If you need to reach me, my office hours are Monday, the 25th, and that is Joy Carter at coralsprings.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, you're welcome. So Commissioner Sarah wanted me to mention who won the Mayor's Cup because he is a little bit biased, potentially, about who won.
You don't have to do that.
So as you can possibly gather from the commentary, you might understand who won, so I'm going to leave it a mystery. But I did happen to be on the side of the Coral Springs High School team with their new principal, or relatively new principal, and enjoyed her company and that of some of your cohorts over there, Commissioner Simmons. And the reason I chose that side is because my 3 older kids all went to JPT, so I wanted to balance the scales a little bit. And it was a wonderful game, a great finish, and it was fun to be there. The Veterans event, I've been to many over the years, and to me this one was the best. It was the most passionate. To me, it was the best attended. There were many veterans, and I loved how the mics were passed to listen to the names of each one. And if you look closely at almost every veteran's face that was being recognized yesterday, on Monday, you can feel the pride and you can feel the sense of the gratitude that they had for the gratitude that was being expressed to them. And all of my colleagues, Joy, Joshua, and Sean, made shared wonderful words. And the leadership of Ernie Kubasek and the Veterans Coalition of Coral Springs was fantastic. And the Lieutenant Colonel Kenneth Gordon, Sean, is that his name? Green. He was the featured speaker, and he did a wonderful job. And we thank everybody that was there and everybody not there that have served us and are serving us for doing so. I did ask for copies to be put on your desk to see if I would be able to sign this letter from the Board of Directors to the Board of Directors at the United States Soccer Federation. This came to me from Seth Platt. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it at all. I'll read the first paragraph to you. It says, I write to you regarding the U.S. Soccer's continued opposition to competitive international soccer matches that have been planned in Miami-Dade County. It's my understanding that your organization has unilaterally prohibited certain high-profile games which would have attracted valuable tourism and millions of dollars in economic activity to South Florida from taking place in our community, etc. Doing so to reconsider its repeated opposition would demonstrate a genuine commitment to our communities and the growth of the game, which you as the United States Soccer Federation are charged with promoting. I have not done independent research of this. I do trust the person that is a senior associate at LSN Partners. I don't know, Mike, to what extent this city manager's office might be aware of this, but to the extent there might be opposition, my understanding years ago is we had at least the second largest youth soccer program in the country. I wouldn't be surprised if we're still there. So I still make that claim. I'm not quite sure if it's exactly accurate, but I wouldn't be surprised that it still is relative to New York City being the largest youth soccer program. For me, soccer has been a way of life here in Coral Springs, and I would love for Coral Springs to support these efforts, and that's why I'm asking for your support to go ahead and sign this letter on behalf of the city. Commissioner?
Yeah.
I have a few concerns with it. You want to?
Yeah, I would just say, I apologize, I'm seeing this for the first time, and I checked with our Economic Development Director. She has not seen it, so if you can just give us the opportunity to do some due diligence, we can bring it back at a future meeting.
You got it. No problem.
And with that, if we're going to do this, I mean, this was requested by lobbyists using lobbying firms' email. And my first question, judging by that, is why? Why is there a lobbying firm sending this to us to have you sign it? What is their motivation? Are they working for anybody related to this? You know, and look, lobbyist is not necessarily a negative term, but that's a concern. And then I would like something saying that they're against having international matches here, because my understanding there's an international match happening in South Florida on Friday. So I don't know really the background on this for me to say okay and go. So
I understand. Well, with Mike's request, I'm withdrawing my request. I got that. No worries. And this is what happens to people that send us things at the last minute. We can only do our best, and we always ask for a little bit of time. Typically, we'll ask for a little bit more time, so I have no problem with asking for more time and taking a look at this, as Mike has requested. Taste of the Springs also, I think Sean mentioned it. Fantastic event. John Arnold has led the way with a lot of volunteers for many years. Well, maybe not a lot, a handful. And it's always a great event. A lot of city employees are there. We get to kibitz a little bit and have a great time and see other businesses that are supporting the community. And there was great wine and great food and really great company. And it's a wonderful way to feature our museum. And it's a wonderful way to feature our Performing Arts Center. So I thought it was a great event, and I look forward to it next year. Is there a date set for the opening of Meadows Playground? Does anybody know that? Because Hunter Pollock was in touch with me about a potential date in December, but I've never gotten anything final. Any word?
We're going to be meeting with Hunter Pollock, I believe on November 26th, to try to come up with a date that'll work for the commission and his group. We were hesitant about the December date that he was proposing because the playground wasn't complete. We just finished the structure earlier this week, and we still have the flooring to put in and the canopies to put in. So we didn't want to set a date that we couldn't meet. So we're going to meet with him, Communications Department, Parks and Rec, and Hunter Pollock on that date and try to come up with a solid date that works for everyone and have that set sometime by the end of November, early December.
Great. All right, thank you, Rick. This was off the wire from Coral Springs Talk about Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Their football team had a historic season with their first district championship in 18 years. So I want to congratulate MSD, and I'd like to recognize them at a city commission meeting in the future. If that's okay with you all. John? Larry's saying yes. Joyce saying yes. All right, wonderful. I appreciate that. I've got some office hours coming up in December. They're going to be December 9th from 9:30 to 11:30. It's Monday, and then following up with Monday, December 16th from 3 to 5 right here in City Hall. And if anyone needs to reach me, you can reach me on my cell phone at 954-696-7599. Thank you. We are on to City Manager's communication.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just say item 14 on the agenda is the city manager's contract. The decision to appoint Frank Babinek, I think, is a tremendous decision on a part of this commission. I'm confident that when Frank retires one day, he'll go down as one of the best city managers in this country. And his reputation is stellar, not in the fire field, but his reputation is stellar in leadership and management. I've received so many positive comments from other cities. I'm glad this city, which I love, was able to secure him because I think if you wouldn't have done it, he may be managing another city. So, but Frank is Coral Springs. I mean, the man started his career as a volunteer firefighter, and it's a tremendous story. He's a tremendous leader. I look forward to working with him as a member of the International City Manager Association from Texas, and I look forward to watching him lead this city to a level that I don't think any of us can even comprehend at this point. Really proud of him, and I think you could not be making a better decision. Thank you.
City Attorney's communication.
Second there, I thought Mike, you'd go through all my items. It would have made it easier for me. Why don't we take the city manager's contract?
Sure.
Since it came up. It's before you. I think I sent it to everybody yesterday. Last week, there was directions to go ahead and negotiate that with Frank Babinek. It is straightforward provisions, the same as Mike Goodrum had, and consistent with the region, the type of provisions on term being 3 years. We'll talk about Mike's separation in a second, but Mike, in his separation, the last day is December 20th, so Frank will take over December 21st, and the contract will go through January 1st, 2023. The same 90-day notice either way. The salary is commensurate with what this direction of the commission was and is in the contract as well. And so Frank was very straightforward, and I think why it's consistent with a lot of other agreements, it's certainly probably on the lower end of what the fair market value is now too. So Frank has actually signed it. I have signed it, approved as to form. If the commission's prepared to take a motion to approve it, that would be great.
I'll move to approve it.
Second.
This is for both?
This is
No,
for the city
Frank.
manager's contract
City
first.
managers,
Yep.
okay. Great, motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, carries unanimously.
Congratulations, Chief.
Congratulations, Frank. The next item is the separation agreement with Mike. That was a lot easier to negotiate than his actual agreement. It took some time. But the reason why we have the separation agreement, frankly, is because there's a 90-day notice that Mike has to give. So we're acknowledging that that's a waiver. A big part of that waiver is because you chose a candidate in-house that's fully prepared to take over. Mike has moved up his date to December 20th to reflect that. It basically what it talks about is that there were some things in the contract that could have happened. Mike could have had his review, and it just, everything was a wash in the mix, and it walks through that, both sides. And Mike, clearly, I put in there, has fully fulfilled his contract, as has the city. And, it's a bittersweet separation agreement for me, and I think for this commission, but I know, Mike is going back to family, so happy to do it.
I'll move to approve it.
Second.
And seconded, any discussion? Larry?
I hate the fact that I have to vote for this, but I'm very happy for you. And we'll get into that stuff, I guess, next month. But, yeah, I'm just struggling whether I should vote for this or not, to be honest with you, because I'm sure as hell going to miss you, so, but yeah.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the separation agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Reluctantly, aye.
Aye.
I heard the reluctance in there, Joshua. All right, it passes.
With gracious humility.
It passes 5-0. So, in that vein, there's a change, and we're very positive and optimistic about the change being very positive for our future. We respect and understand our city manager's position and taking family home and having a great opportunity to take his experience here and make Sugar Land an even better place. And we're very happy to have the knowledge, the experience, and the leadership of Chief Babinek to lead us forward a little bit over a month from now. And we're excited to have you stick with us. And we understand, too, especially from talking to a couple of your employees yesterday, there's going to be a missing, a little while in your department. And we can really appreciate that. But we're also confident that your department won't miss a beat because of the leadership you have in place. So I think I speak on behalf of our commission. Bless you. Thank you. But if anybody wants to add something, you're welcome to now. Okay. Anything further, John?
I do. I have a settlement agreement in front of you. As I spoke with each one of you individually, when we have a tort case, we have the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust, which is a $25,000 deductible. So because of that, the insurance company ultimately has the right to settle or not settle. They work with us and follow us, but those don't come before you because of the agreement. With our workers' comp, we actually only have a self-insured retention, so we're responsible for the first $300,000. This is of a former longtime employee with the police department who had suffered 2 injuries in 2011, which are still around. His wife worked at Parks and Rec. She's now retired, and they're moving to North Carolina. When that happens, there's going to be a change of doctors. We will not have the approved doctors that we work with, and they do not go under the workers' compensation scale. The future exposure on these 2 claims is estimated to be approximately $420,000, so we have reserves that we have for this. When we had mediation, we reached a number that was positive in our reserve balance, and so we have tentatively agreed to settle based on commission approval in the amount of $150,000. I will let you know that one of the times that this individual was injured was he jumped in a canal when a woman's vehicle went into the canal, busted through the window, and pulled her out, and as a result, he has damage to his wrist and his right hand. The numbers make great sense for us. At a value of $420,000, we can move forward. There's probably operations in this individual's future, and that's why he's prepared to accept, and we're prepared to offer that if the commission approves.
Move to approve?
Second.
Move to approve. Second, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 And one final item,
5-0, Deborah.
and one final item, I think it was 2 commission meetings ago, you authorized us to engage a class action lawsuit in the opioid litigation that was filed today in the Southern District of Florida and is moving up to Ohio. So We are named plaintiff in the opioid lawsuit involving 2025 pharmaceutical companies. So just an update on that, and that's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for taking care of that. We are adjourned for the evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your work, everyone. Keep feeling better, Larry.
All of a sudden, I thought I got